Hi guys, I'm going to make another video on a subject that I made a video on a little while ago, and it's about thoughts of self-harm or suicidal ideation. When you are either getting out of the relationship with a narcissist, you're trying to break a trauma bond, or you're still currently involved in the relationship with the narcissist. I made a video on it and I've had a lot of responses. I've been reading a lot about it, and I just wanted to make another quick video on it. This is going to be mostly off the cuff, so forgive my ums and stuttering. But it's actually pretty common for people in this community, or people who have been in a relationship with a narcissist, psychopath, sociopath, abuser, psychological, emotional, physical, verbal abuser, for them to feel so depleted and so hopeless and so empty inside that they feel like often that they don't care whether they live or die. And I believe, I look at this almost like a soul rape. I feel like this is a common theme and a lot of people I've spoken with have had these sort of ruminations. And again, I'm going to provide the 1-800 number for the suicidal hotline. I really want to reiterate, if you are in a very desperate place, please call the number. Please call the number. It's very common for people to engage in self-injurious behaviors, drinking too much, possibly drug use, self-harming. Sometimes people will develop eating disorders or addictions in the context of these relationships, and this comorbidity of having a substance use disorder or an addiction, coupled with all of the trauma and the narcissistic abuse, can certainly lead people to a very dark place in their minds and to some incredibly horrific feelings of depression and emptiness. And on some level, I believe, because narcissists are empty themselves, they're always looking for somebody to fill them up, right? They need that outside external validation. So if you're in relationship with them, you might not even know this is happening, but you are getting sucked dry. Like your emotions you're being depleted on a level that is uncanny. And so you may not even realize it, but you get to this place where you just feel empty, and the things that you used to love, you just can't find joy anymore. And that is very common to have those feelings when you're in these relationships or you're getting out. What I can provide for you is some hope, that there is hope on the other side of these relationships. And I'm not even saying it's a relationship with another, romantic relationship. I'm saying there's hope for you to start getting your joy back. And I believe a lot of that starts with no contact and with really, completely cutting off that relationship with that person. And you start to go no contact, and little by little you start to heal. And I'm not saying that there aren't going to be days where you feel like you took 3 steps back, but overall the trajectory can be a healing growth upward, an upward trajectory. And I can speak for myself that I'm not completely healed yet, but I am definitely a way more healed than I was. And that feeling of soul crushing depression and that existential loneliness, that's gone for me. And I've been very lucky in that I have been able to surround myself with really good people, most of them through the context of my 12-step recovery program, but also just good friends and family. I've been so exceedingly lucky in that regard. And I do believe that has a lot to do with reaching out. You have to reach out. You have to cultivate relationships with people. And I've been very blessed. I now, as a sober woman, I now have, the value. I see the value of friendships, and I really try to honor and cultivate my friendships with other, mostly women in my life that I just adore and that have been there for me. Men too. There's been a few really good friends. So right now, what I found is that I find that my soulmates are my friends and my family who've been loyal and kind and loving throughout all of these difficulties in life. So I really encourage you to seek connection with safe people. If you are having these thoughts and feelings, please call the hotline, but also know that connection with safe people is crucial, and community support is crucial. Again, you can find it through 12-step recovery. Even if you don't have a substance use disorder, you can find it through Codependents Anonymous or ACOA, Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families. I also highly recommend that you seek a trauma therapist and you really start to look at that childhood abandonment wounding that sort of led to you having a vulnerability to narcissistic abuse or to being with a narcissist. It's not your fault that you were abused, not even close. You are not, survivors and victims. I'm not going to victim blame, no way. Not your fault, but your vulnerability was, a lot of times codependents, they can't see or trauma survivors, their barometer for what is normal is really, really off, right? So, sometimes we think, we think emotional abuse is normal. We think verbal abuse is normal because that's what we had in childhood, or we think physical abuse is, we normalize abuse, right? Sometimes, not everyone, but if you're a trauma survivor, that may be possible that you might do that. So if you're suffering from these feelings of this loneliness, this soul crushing loneliness, and this, if you're thinking of suicide, or if you're having thoughts that you just don't care whether you live or die, I just want you to know that there's hope and it will get better. Part of it is just the healing journey. It's a long one. It's a difficult one, but you will get better. You will feel better. You will start connecting with the things that matter to you again. You will start finding joy. And again, a lot of that starts with no contact. At least it did for me. And I think it has for a lot of my clients and for people I've spoken with and for some of the books that I've read. And really start to read, Whole Again by Jackson McKenzie. That book was amazing. This book by Shannon Thomas called Healing from Hidden Abuse. If you have not read it, I highly recommend reading that book. Another really good one is called The Human Magnet Syndrome by Ross Rosenberg. I highly recommend that book. I mean, this is a healing journey for you to come into your own and to really start to love you, to love yourself. And, when we stay in relationships with people who can't love themselves and certainly can't love other people, it's very difficult for us because, we may be constantly seeking, their approval, and we're seeking approval. If we're with a narcissist or sociopath or psychopath, we are seeking approval from somebody who is insatiable and who will never, ever, ever be happy with anyone or anything. So we're going to the dry well for water. We are going to the hardware store for a fresh loaf of bread. And everyone knows hardware stores don't sell loaves of bread. So stop going to the dry well for water and start filling up your own, that hole in your soul. And, I found it through 12-step recovery and through spirituality and through seeking a higher power. I found it through connecting with community. I found it through making connections with people that are safe and kind and loving and patient and understanding and very empathetic. I'm now finding myself, I want to be around people that have a lot of empathy, and it's super important for me. So get those connections. Do not face this alone. If you're really having these thoughts, I definitely recommend that you call the suicide hotline. There's a lot of resources that can be provided there. Seek a trauma therapist. Get some help. And of course, exercise and self-care and doing really loving things for yourself and avoiding all substances that could create greater depression. Alcohol is a depressant. So, be careful if you're, if you're drinking too much alcohol. There's a program for that, even if it isn't alcoholism, but it's like a substance use disorder, because you may be a hard drinker, you may be drinking more than you should be to cope with this trauma. It's just not a healthy way of coping. So I am wishing you like the best, and I'm thinking about you, and I really hope that if you're suffering from some of these feelings and some of this horrific loneliness of your soul, there is another way. There's a better way, and you don't need to do any self harm. Please don't. Just reach out, get the help that you need, and you are not alone. There's a lot of people in this community, and I beg you guys, if you're watching this video and if you've had these feelings, or if you feel like putting some comments in the notes to try to offer some support to the people that might be suffering from this, and just like let them know that like they're not alone, and like a lot of people have gone through this, a lot of people have had these feelings or these ideations, and they've been able to get over onto the other side and not do any self-harming behaviors. So wishing you the very best, thinking of you, and I hope you're practicing radical self-care. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.